Have you ever heard about Amy Eskridge?
No.
No. Okay. Amy Eskridge, she was a NASA engineer, and right now people are speculating online that she was assassinated because she blew the whistle on anti-gravity technology and time travelers from the future. All right, welcome back. I'm Christian, and that's Patrick, and prepare to be sucked into black hole theories. All right. Thank you so much for thank you so much for joining us, guys. Um, Plenty of weird stuff happening in the UFO space. If you've been keeping up with it, how have you been keeping up with the UFO stuff? Do you even keep up with it?
Um, I think I keep up with the current events in the space a lot less than a lot of people who are actively like on UFO Twitter.
Yeah.
Um, I'll see some of the stuff on Twitter as I'm scrolling it, but I think where I focus on is like trying to find new documentaries or new movies about it that I haven't seen yet. So a lot of that stuff is not the most recent. And so I'll definitely look into things when a recent development happens that is like, new footage or a new whistleblower. But as far as the happenings within it, I don't do as great a job as keeping up with, but I definitely have opinions on it when I hear about it.
Cool. Well, I'd like to get your opinion about this because, dude, let me tell you, this is a crazy, crazy story. Have you ever heard about Amy Eskridge?
No.
No. Okay. So, dude, Amy Eskridge, she was a NASA engineer who she apparently played a significant role in the space shuttle program. And right now, people are speculating online that she was assassinated because she blew the whistle on anti-gravity technology and time travelers from the future. It's crazy shit, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this a video you're going to show me?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and pull it up. But man, it's really, really strange because some of the stuff that, she talks about, she was drunk. So this is a woman who she died in 2022, I think it was. And people are speculating that she was assassinated because of the stuff that she spoke about. Um, but let me go ahead and share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And what'd you say she did for a living was again?
She was a NASA engineer and she
Okay.
played a role in the space shuttle program. Uh, yeah. So let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. Yeah, it's pretty insane. So this is her.
They are you. They are me. They're from here, from the future. P47 is present plus 47,000 years. P52 is present plus 52,000 years. And basically there's a calamity, right? So there's like a apocalypse scenario in the near future. It wipes out most of like everything, man. And there's the ones that go underground and survive, right? And then there's the ones that somehow stay on the surface and miraculously don't die. And
Mark Zuckerberg's got the right idea. But let me tell you something, right?
So you're telling me that this chick made that video in 2022 and was suicided?
Apparently the cause of death was, I think it was cancer or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what she died of, but yeah, apparently it was suicide. I got cancer, and I also got suicide. But apparently, she was 34 when she passed away.
Damn.
Yeah. So she.
So what?
Yeah.
What? So I guess they're saying that is her claims that she knows about this because of her job at NASA.
Right. Look, here's another video to give you a little bit more context. And this is like another little clip that I found.
And let me tell you, I'm in Huntsville, Alabama. I know I've said that several times. We're the Rocket City. We're the biggest deal you've never heard of. Von Braun was here and we won the space race. We developed the Saturn V here. We built the Saturn V here. We won the space race here in Alabama, whether you've heard of it or not. And I can tell you for a fact, so many prototypes. Only prototype built like this in the world. You turn it on the first time, it works exactly like you thought it would the first time. Great data. You apply for more funding to test it more thoroughly, they cancel it. It goes to NASA divestment. It goes to the auction block. People bid on it. And literally scrap metal vendors win the bid and melt it down for scrap metal and sell it. We could be crazy far. We could be on the moons of Jupiter. We could be exploring Pluto that isn't even a planet anymore if we had spent money differently. I can tell you the names of so many NASA scientists that are depressed and they want to kill themselves because they have built prototype after prototype after prototype in Huntsville, Alabama. First in the world, never before seen, worked the first time you turned it on exactly like you thought. It was canceled and melted down for scrap metal. It's crazy.
Wonder.
So there you have it.
So, but what does that mean? It works exactly how you thought.
Right. Like, what does that mean, right? Yeah.
Because that's implying something without saying anything. I think this bitch is gaslighting me.
Honestly, yeah, I don't know what to think of it, but I will admit though it is pretty weird. I mean, she did mention that that a lot of people within NASA are like, you know, they end up committing suicide or something, or they want to commit suicide or something. The depression rates are high, but what I will admit also is that this video is actually unlisted. So somebody had uploaded this video onto YouTube and then shared an unlisted link on Twitter or X. And that's how I kind of stumbled upon it. But yeah, it's just weird, man. She apparently worked on anti-gravity propulsion research. And she allegedly suicided after presenting an anti-gravity propulsion paper to NASA. So that's the information that that I saw here on X. And, I take it with a grain of salt, of course. But, she tells us how NASA purposely prevents credible research from reaching satisfactory conclusions. Meaning, and I wouldn't be surprised by that either. I mean, NASA, never a straight answer, and NASA, right? NASA, they've been known to cover shit up over time, and I'm sure you know that you've covered NASA on your channel too, and I wouldn't put it past that they have tried to obfuscate advancements in technology for their own agenda, right? They kind of want like their own timeline of technological progression to space, you would assume, right? And so yeah, it's just a little weird when I came across that. And that she was a real person. She actually did pass away. I thought it was AI at first, but yeah, no, she's a real person. I did some digging, and she was a scientist at NASA. And I mean, yeah, she was drunk during that kind of podcast or interview or whatever.
Was that an interview? She was being interviewed by someone?
I don't think it was an interview. I think it was just like a podcast. Like she was a guest on like a podcast, like low key, that is unlisted for some reason. Yeah.
I mean, if you looked into it and she was actually a employee at NASA and she died and she was saying all that, I mean, that's definitely suspicious, but it's not conclusive in itself. And a lot of what she was saying was also kind of intentionally vague. Like, what do you mean it worked exactly how you expected? Because when she was talking about it, at first, I thought it meant that she was implying that it worked just like a flying saucer. but she never said anything about that. And so the next impression I got was she was saying that it's rare that when you design something and you test it for the first time that it works perfectly. And so maybe she was saying that these people were not coming up with anti-gravity, but whatever they were working on, they were so good at their job as engineers that the first time they tested the thing that they built, it worked. And maybe that's just her being, as an example, saying that NASA, even if something works great, will turn it into scrap metal.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're working on anti-gravity spaceships. But she did say we could be on Jupiter. But she could also be speculating by saying, like, the amount of stuff that has gotten shut down for no reason means that we could be more advanced. But that doesn't necessarily mean that she's saying people worked on flying saucers at NASA and have them. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. But I mean, if they have scientists that have already come up with this technology, I mean, why would they even try to shut it down, right? You know, I'm also reading here that says Amy Eskridge died on June 11th, 2022. She was the chairwoman and president of the Institute for Exotic Science. Her dad, Greg Eskridge, was the technical lead of the Advanced Propulsion Lab at NASA Marshall. Here she is explaining about how the black budget programs work. She says, you know what they do with their smartest people? Cancel, 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 dopamine block. They get the ideas from you. They get the design. They get the prototype that works the first time you turn it on, and then they cancel it, and then they take it a deeper level deeper. So what they do is you solve the problem, then they cancel it. Cancel it in the white world. They move it to a level deeper. They optimize it for the secret application, and they give you a new problem, and then they cancel it. So I don't know. It is interesting though that I've never heard of things happening in Alabama. Have you? Any kind of NASA operations?
Yeah, I think they actually do have a little outpost there where they work on things.
Mm.
I feel like they have probably little areas that they work throughout the U.S. So I think that is a thing, but I'm pretty sure they have one in Alabama. But when you were reading that to me, I don't know if you caught it. She is a chairwoman for some woo-woo sounding organization that maybe she created. And I think what you said was her dad was a NASA engineer, right?
What she says she was the chairwoman and president of the Institute for Exotic Science. Like, what is that?
It's like a school for ants. See, that's where I think it sounds made up.
Yeah.
It's like saying I'm the co-host of Black Hole Theories. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean we'll work for NASA.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. There is a Crunchbase profile or portfolio or whatever you want to call it that exists. So I don't know. Yeah.
It sounds like to me like I mean, I consider us conspiracy theorists, but she sounds like a crazy lady who's going through some shit. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, before she passed away. Which, you know, she was under the influence, like while she was filming that podcast or whatever. And I think this is her, dude.
Stuck looking through dozens of lessons.
Yeah, I think this is her.
My name is Amy Eskridge, and I'm the president and co-founder of the Institute for Exotic Science, based here in Rocket City, USA, in Huntsville, Alabama. We're a privately held, for-profit, public benefit corporation research institution with a focus on aerospace, space sciences, advanced exotic propulsion, metamaterials communications, and other types.
Did she just say metamaterials?
Yeah, so basically what she's saying is she has a business that is for profit where they examine what they think is UFOs. And it sounds like complete bullshit to me.
Let's keep saying.
Space-related and terrestrial technology. Our goal is to speed up innovation and bring new technology to the market faster than the traditional institutions have been able to do. And because of this, we want to come to LA to pair our deep technological expertise with the commercialization expertise present in LA. So we're going to be in town, and I'm excited to come and talk to you and explain to you what we're doing and what our mission is. And so please come and talk to me. I'd love to meet you and speak with you. And
Dude, that's, yeah. I saw, like, I spent a while watching like the full podcast with her. And they were talking about disclosure in the beginning of the podcast and how like how she thought that it would be a good idea to give some evidence, some conclusive evidence to a major media figure such as, and for some reason she brought this media figure up, Tucker Carlson. She thought that it would be a good idea to provide the evidence to him so that he could announce it, like disclosure, I guess. And that was her idea. So I don't know. It could be Woo City over here.
She sounds like, I think she definitely doesn't works for NASA. Let's just get that straight. She works for, here's the biggest red flag. When you say nothing by stringing together a lot of very big words, that to me rings bullshit every time. Because if you try to actually follow every word she said, I'm not even going to try to attempt to use the words that she used to try to sound intelligent and sound official, but the content of what she said just boiled down to the fact that she has her own business where she tries to look for anti-gravity technology, and when they find it, they're going to take it to the masses faster than NASA or any other mainstream means.
I think
actually just means nothing.
I think she did work for NASA though, bro. Look, I asked ChatGPT, I'm like, who is Amy Eskridge? Because I've been using GPT a lot. I don't know about you, but I've been messing with AI a little bit more than usual. And I just asked her that question. I'm like, hey, who's Amy Eskridge? And then this is what ChatGPT spit it out. It says Amy Eskridge was a NASA engineer who played a significant role in the space shuttle program. She worked at the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Eskridge was known for her expertise in space shuttle propulsion and external tank foam insulation, areas that became particularly significant following the space shuttle Columbia disaster in 2003. She was part of the team that worked on understanding and fixing the foam shedding problem that led to the Columbia accident. Her contributions were crucial in the safe return to flight of the space shuttle program. So I don't know. And I asked,
Columbia is the one with the teacher, right? That blew up.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah.
You realize that happened like while she was maybe 3 years old or some shit.
Well, yeah. Well, she was. So this is 03. That happened in 03. February 1st, 2003, and she's 34 when she passed away in 2022. So she might have been like in her teens, like, mid-teens around there.
No way, the space shuttle blew up in the 80s.
The Columbia accident?
Is Columbia the one with the teacher that blew up?
Yeah, I think so. The Columbia disaster occurred on February 1st when NASA's space shuttle Columbia broke up as it re-entered the Earth's atmosphere over the disaster killed all 7 astronauts on board, including Ian Lan Ramon, the first Israeli astronaut in space.
I think, I'm thinking of a different incident.
Gotcha.
Oh, I'm thinking of the Challenger.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But, and I asked it how she passed away, and she said she passed away due to cancer.
So, first off, what was the first bio that you read? Because you read something that was like, she's the chairwoman of blah, 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 esoteric, whatever.
Yeah, it was actually on Ashton Forbes, which, I wouldn't necessarily, I'm not too keen on what he says. because he's the one that theorized about MS-57, the plane that apparently just disappeared into thin air.
Yeah.
But he's the one that kind of made this tweet saying that, giving information on her. Yeah.
But even what he said, was that second sentence about her dad?
Her dad, Greg Eskridge, was the technical lead of the Advanced Propulsion Lab at NASA Marshall.
Yeah, so it was her dad, not her. She's the chairwoman of some esoteric studies organization that she created herself from her fucking basement.
Mm.
And her dad is the only credibility offerer here. Her dad worked for NASA. She is someone who believes in UFOs and wants people to pay her money to examine potentially fake, potentially real anti-gravity.
Right.
Like, if you listen to what she described her job in that video, one, she's like, the video's got no views, basically, right? And she's trying to get people to talk to her at some expo she's going to. And she's some fucking, I'm the chairwoman of blah, blah, blah organization. And she says all these fucking words without saying anything other than saying, we want to make money by bringing anti-gravity technology to the masses. So if you have it, like, let me see it so I can profit from it. That's essentially what she said. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, I did get that. Yeah. This was the podcast that and you could see, I mean, she was clearly drunk here for sure.
We'll do it live. Lufa, my vision of disclosure, I like the library thing, sending it to libraries on a certain day. What I had sort of envisioned is I want to publish the paper on archive.com, because you absolutely cannot publish this in a peer-reviewed journal, because the peer review committee will laugh you out of there, but they'll send it to all of their friends. So no. So
yeah,
she's fucked up.
Yeah. And she's talking.
How can she be taken seriously if she's?
I say we.
But
do
I really. Sorry, what?
Is this guy sitting in a Walmart?
Everything we possibly can. So
Correct.
We need to reach out. We need to have a group.
What is
all
happening?
Of the media
What is this interview?
vendors that we can possibly control, and ask them all to pitch in. Give them all the information all at once, and just spam the internet with it.
We need partnerships well ahead of time. Period. Like, you can't be calling these people to be like, can I disclose UFOs tomorrow? You have to be like in talks with these people. And so we need to pick, Mark and I have been talking about this already. We need to pick the most credible person we can possibly get who will publish it and talk about it on TV.
Oh my God. Okay.
I was thinking Tucker Carlson needs to be the one.
Tucker Carlson.
Oh yeah, I love Tucker. We should get that
Let's
guy.
call Rush Limbaugh. No, let's call Tucker Carlson.
So yeah, I don't know if you've heard enough, but yeah, I mean,
bro, this is like, first off, let's forget the fact that she was drunk. Let's forget the fact that she's the chairwoman of some bullshit organization that she clearly created herself.
Yeah.
You lose me when you say your entire strategy hinges on getting the right person to talk about it on live TV. Are we not in 2024? At the time she was in 2022. You'll get more views on a viral YouTube video than you will on TV. Like, who makes that your end goal? We gotta get on TV and we gonna show them.
I'm trying not to laugh because she's dead, but yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a byproduct. All of these things happening all at once. I also feel like it's a byproduct of the conversation being, more popular and being more trending. And And so you're bound to have a bunch of kooks pop up from different corners. So I don't know. I don't know what to think of it. I mean, yeah, it sounds very woo and a little out there. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tragedy that she died.
It is, yeah. It's very unfortunate. But
however, I have not seen anything to convince me that she was suicided because of trying to reveal the truth.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, if they were trying to discredit her, point to the obvious, like I did, right? So the fact that she's dead, I think, is probably way too extreme of a measure than was even needed.
Right.
You know.
Right. Because we can't just like say, oh, it was
Men in Black.
Yeah.
It was Will Smith. You know.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. And then we got Uri Geller. You know Uri Geller?
Ringing bells.
Yeah, so
Remind me.
He's that dude that like bends spoons and shit.
Okay.
He like apparently like in the 80s and 90s, I think he's like a magician or some shit.
Yeah.
He had access to a building where Werner von Braun and the astronaut Edgar Mitchell went to go see some alien bodies. And so
I did see this tweet.
You did.
Okay,
Tom
bring us
DeLonge.
up to speed.
Yeah, so Tom DeLonge actually shared it. He retweeted his tweet, and I'll go ahead and I'll show you the tweet real quick. I just want to get your thoughts on it, but this is the tweet right here. It says, "My dear friends, this type of alien is the one I have seen in the abyss of the concrete building Werner von Braun and astronaut Edgar Mitchell took me to see. Some bodies were not intact, but mangled. Some were like this one in this video. To the best of my recollection, there could have been 8 in glass containers. This is what I posted a while ago. Blah, blah, blah." He said that they were being kept in a massive refrigerated room, at least 3 flights of stairs beneath the building that is situated on a well-known NASA base. Are they being kept there? I don't know. But look back at some of my previous posts on this subject. I've made it very clear that where this was. So he said, before we went in, Braun asked me to put on an orange Antarctic style warm coat with the circular blue NASA logo on it. And he also put one on too. Inside it smelled like a hospital. I could see what looked like heavy glass containers with lifeless bodies lying inside them. It was a shocking sight, like when you see an accident that has happened and you feel like something has hit you in the stomach. The containers looked thick, triple glazed, transparent coffins that were misted with frost along all of the edges and the corners. The bodies were small, thin, and very frail looking with big heads, but disturbingly familiar. They looked uncannily like us, enough for me to feel repulsed and sorry for these victims. They had either been severely injured or had decomposed a lot, but not all. None of your cynical and skeptical scoffing comments will change what I have seen. Friends, please let me know in your comments, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, Uri Geller, he said some outrageous things on Twitter and X. And he's always talking about how, like, yeah, he's been involved and he's known about this for such a long time and this and that. But it's crazy that Tom DeLonge would repost it. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Tom DeLonge, that doesn't even mean anything to me as far as the credibility of that story, but the story is definitely fascinating. It makes a lot of wild accusations that have not necessarily been made. And I guess I don't know what to make of it because I don't necessarily like know who Uri Geller is, you know, as an example, like if he's a magician, does that hurt his credibility? Well, I think if you look at someone like Tom DeLonge, people would argue he has a lot of credibility in the space, but he also is just an entertainer. You know, he's a musician. So,
right.
Does being a magician inherently make you less credible when you say something like that? but the details of the story were very fascinating. So unless he's like
It's very
a writer, you know,
Right.
then it seems like very specific, you know.
How would you react if you had special access? Like if somebody knocked on your door, right? The CIA knocked on your door and told you, "Yo, Patrick, come with me. I want to show you what we've been hiding this whole time since you've shown such interest in this topic. We've seen your YouTube videos. We've seen Mindfuck with Patrick James. And we want to take you to an underground basement where we're keeping alien bodies. Come with me. Come with us. Let's show you." How would you react as you're walking down those stairs or that elevator and you see those beings? What would you feel?
Okay. So at first I would feel a weird sense of unease in my stomach. I think it would feel like a very trippy experience because as I lay my eyes upon this creature that may or may not be from another dimension or another galaxy and came here in a little flying saucer from the Jetsons, I would question if my reality was real. I would question if this was a simulation of some sort. I would question if I was in a video game. And then I would have to come to the gripping truth that this being is real and it's standing there right in front of me and it's looking me in the eyes. And I would try to get a sense of if it feels at the consciousness level similar to me or just completely something different.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. All right. The tour guide is there with you. CIA tour guide,
Okay.
right? The theoretical, hypothetical tour guide is there with you, and he tells you, you may only ask me 3 questions. However, you'll have to keep your mouth shut. Anything. You can ask me anything. And then he'll of course make you sign an NDA. What would you do? What would you ask him?
Well, I'm glad you asked this question because believe it or not, I have a note on my notes app in my iPhone that I created in probably 2020 called Questions to Ask an Alien. If I ever met an alien from another place that was seemingly far more advanced than me, I have questions already loaded up just for this exact
You're
moment.
locked and loaded.
So you're asking me to choose 3.
3 questions. You're limited to 3. So you got to kind of get a little technical and, pick the most
I can do
important
this. Okay. Can you go back in time and change the past?
It's a good one.
Okay.
I fucks with it.
Your belief on God and religion.
Okay.
And then what is inside of a black hole?
I dig it. The last question, though, what is inside of a black hole? Do you feel like they would know the answer to that?
Or what happens inside the black hole? I feel like if they had the ability to warp and manipulate gravity and travel faster than the speed of light, I don't know. I guess that's a question. It would depend on how advanced they are. Like you would almost wonder if they could use that technology to explore a black hole. And maybe they know a lot more about physics and the nature of reality than we do in our limited amount of time studying mathematics and physics and geometry and maybe in trigonometry and calculus and all of that stuff. Maybe they know more, they have a deeper understanding of the nature of our universe, because the black hole was only theorized by Einstein's equations for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it was eventually discovered, ironically, not that long ago, much later than Einstein, like physically proven that they exist, right? And like actually discovered. And now we realize that they're actually everywhere. In fact, they may be the driving force for what keeps this universe going. It's like the way I picture black holes is it is like the heart pumping blood throughout your body. Black holes are almost like the fucking engine that makes the universe work, because at the center of every galaxy is a massive black hole. And galaxies, from a cosmological standpoint, are probably the only reason that we're alive, is collecting stardust together in ways that form planets, stars, all of this stuff. And what's collecting it all together is the fucking drain that it's all going into, you know?
Right.
And so maybe they know more about what a black hole is, who put it there, what its purpose is. Like, is there more purposes that black holes serve than we are aware of, you know, of just being the center of galaxies? And what happens inside of that? Maybe they know that at the center of a black hole is a big bang into another universe. Maybe black holes are portals into other dimensions.
Whoa.
We don't know.
Dude.
You know?
Yo. Galaxies are like space hurricanes, if you really think about it.
And that's actually the Fibonacci sequence at work.
Whoa. That's crazy. I just thought about that. That's crazy. What is a black hole? I mean, yeah, like it bothers me, man. Like, what is a black hole and why is it the center of every galaxy? It's so interesting. Do you think it's kind of like, do you think it contributes to the order in the universe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it keeps it going. Yeah, I think it is the power. It's the powerhouse of the cell, the mitochondria. Yeah, and like I also think it kind of blows my mind that our universe as a whole looks just like a collection of neurons when you zoom out. And so neurons, how many of those are fucking in your brain, right? Billions. And so what if we are just a tiny little minuscule, our universe is a tiny little minuscule thing in a larger organism.
Right. I've always thought about that too. Like, what if we're actually living inside of an organism, right? Kind of like, I don't know, Osmosis Jones or something like that, you know?
Or the Who's from Whoville in the Grinch.
Yeah.
They're on a snowflake.
Yeah. Whoa. That's trippy. Yeah. I mean, yeah,
that's falling.
There's so many possibilities. It could really make your head spin. And that's why I feel like disclosure is so important, you know, disclosure of the basics, at least. I feel like it all goes back to like what's happening right now, you know? Have you heard of Robert Dean?
Mm-mm.
So Robert Dean was this dude who believed that there were aliens integrated in society with us right now. I actually made a video about it on TikTok like 2 years ago.
Okay. I've heard this theory. I didn't know who Robert Dean was.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, you know Robert Bigelow, he was the former owner of Skinwalker Ranch. He it's your boy.
I don't know him personally, but I know of him.
Yeah, so Robert Bigelow, he was asked like I think it was 60 Minutes had him on like, a couple of years ago, Australia. They asked him like, oh, you know, why do you believe in aliens, or like, you know, where are they and what are they? And he said like, oh, I don't have to go anywhere. They're here, you know, like what are they?
Oh,
yeah, you remember that?
That was in an interview.
Yeah,
right?
It was an interview, and then he just chuckled, and he said that they're here. So it makes you question like, are they really here? Is he referring to us as humans? Like,
when he said they're here, did he elaborate more to imply that they're like walking among us, or did he mean that they're just like visiting our skies?
He just said like, oh, you don't have to go anywhere to go see aliens type shit.
Oh yeah. You know, I think
he was very vague.
I saw that and I thought about it in a lot of different ways, again, because it's like intentionally open-ended,
right?
And I gotta wonder. So again, probabilities. There's either the fact that he has met aliens, interacted with aliens, and seen aliens, and he knows that they are walking among us. That's a possibility. Or is it more likely that he meant we ourselves are aliens because we ourselves are intelligent life on a spinning rock in outer space? And when he combines that with his personal belief that there is also intelligent life out in the universe outside of us humans on Earth, then is he saying that in an intentionally vague and open-ended way, but realistically just saying that we ourselves are aliens?
Right.
You are an alien. I am an alien. That's like a Neil deGrasse Tyson type of thing. We're the aliens. We're the ones that we should be worried about. Why would they think about us?
Yeah. I don't know. I've always felt, I don't know if I ever told you this, but when I was a kid, I was sitting in the back seat of my parents' car and we were just driving, and I had a lot of time to myself when I was a kid. Like, sometimes I would just get bored and stare out the window, when cars would pass by when we were in traffic or something. I would just get bored and, spend time doing nothing. And a lot of this time that I was spending doing nothing, sitting in the back seat, waiting patiently to get to the next destination, I had a feeling, dude. And I don't even know. I can't even explain it. Like, I mean, I can't explain it, but I don't know if you could relate or if anybody in the audience can relate. I felt that I wasn't from this planet, dude. And it was like a feeling. Like, I felt kind of like when you take psychedelics or something. I felt like right here and like here, it was like a weird sensation. I felt like I was from somewhere else out there. And I was like 9 years old, dude. I can't even explain it. To this day, I still think about it. I'm like, was I just being a kid and having like creative imagination? Or was that really a feeling? Because it was a feeling. It actually felt like a feeling, So I don't know if you've ever felt that before, but it was actually something that just like came to me as a feeling and then translated as a thought. So it was a feeling first that translated as a thought. And I don't know if I was just like being a kid at that time. So I just kind of like, threw it in the back burner. Yeah. But it was the weirdest thing ever, man. Weirdest thing. So it makes me question, like, are we really from other planets? Do we have DNA that stems from other life out there, Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we were manipulated over time. And of course, there's that whole Australopithecus being manipulated genetically with some other intelligent life force or life form over time. That's another big theory. But Robert Dean, going back to Robert Dean, he believed that there's actually a program in the government that is like very low key and secret, where we've made a pact with a certain civilization so that they can, kind of like an exchange program, to where they can live among us in society. For what purpose? I don't know. Recon? I don't know. Sociology? I don't know. To where they live with us like in apartment buildings. They live with us, we could be shopping in grocery stores and they're right next to us and we wouldn't even know about it. He even emphasized that we would never even know that they're extraterrestrials. And so it makes me wonder, like, are there other humans out there? Are we related to them? Why is this man who is, he's retired. He was in the United States Army. He was a command sergeant major after a 28-year career. And he's actually from Tucson, Arizona. Tucson, Arizona. And so he appeared in like radio programs. He was in TV shows, interviews. He also claimed to have viewed a classified government document called The Assessment that allegedly discusses threats posed by alien activity on Earth, and he concluded that no such threats existed. He also said that he considered himself a professional UFO researcher and had cosmic top secret clearance while in the military. And yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. He yeah, yeah. He also had a lawsuit. He was sued. He sued his employer for discrimination, also saying that he was treated unfairly because of his belief in UFOs, and he settled for $100K back in the 90s. Yeah,
I think what the whole idea of what if aliens are here walking among us, I think that's a connection that to some like certain other stories that I've heard about that really fascinates me, like the idea of the Nordics, and like they come and visit people and they're all like super good looking blonde people who are like in their 20s or 30s, and they always have like a very positive message for humanity, and they're here to like help us and protect us. And then I think Billy Meyer or someone said he like met the Nordics, and his credibility has always been questioned. He's the guy who like photographed all the flying saucers up close. But Travis Walton, his story does fascinate me of those same theory, right? It's fascinating for two reasons. One, because the Nordic beings look surprisingly human. And so if they're human looking in appearance and there's no really distinguishable features other than they are just like better looking than us and they're all blonde haired, that makes you wonder, like, is there a universal code to intelligent life throughout the universe? And it all kind of looks very similar. Like, you're not going to see these fucking alien, like the Hollywood alien movie from the 80s, where they're all like these predator looking creatures that are just like ready to pounce. They might have those somewhere in the universe, but the fact that those are the dominating intelligent species maybe is not as common. Like if they all are bipedal, have 2 arms, 2 feet or whatever, and have 2 eyes on the front of their head, things like that. But with Travis Walton's story, he met 2 or more human-looking creatures that were wearing helmets on this craft that also had these typical grays. So when I hear about they did. Have you seen it?
Yeah, what was it called? Something Fire in
the Sky.
Yeah. So I did see the movie. And were the creatures in the movie, did they look similar to the ones that he saw?
The movie is not something to watch if you want to see cool looking aliens.
Yeah.
The thing about the movie is the entire movie is very accurate to exactly what happened up until they show you what happened to him while he was being abducted on the alien spacecraft. What was in the movie was so Hollywood, so cheesy 80s horror almost feeling that, and it's completely the opposite of what actually happened in real life. And in my opinion, the real life experience that he had in according to his story, whether you believe it or not, in my opinion, is actually much creepier. If they would have ran with that in the video or in the movie, I think it would have been a way better movie. Or because I mean that they make that the climax of the movie, and the climax just for me was not doing it. But yeah, I mean, when I did my recent video on Travis Walton on my YouTube channel, what I did was obviously deep dive through the.
You killed it, bro. You killed it with
the documentary. You watched that one?
Yeah, you killed that shit, dude.
From the script to even just like watching the finished product, I was like, this is so creepy. Like the entire experience is creepy as fuck, Yeah.
It is creepy, yeah. He was the only one that was abducted in that case, right?
Yep.
And he had friends that corroborated the same story, right? There were no inconsistencies in that story.
Yeah. There was, and they weren't all friends. It was 6 other dudes who witnessed this happen.
So there's an unbiased factor as well.
They were 6 coworkers, and some of them didn't get along with each other,
Wow.
you know, and some of them were best friends or whatever. They were just 6 dudes who were hired to do the job, you know?
Yeah, I really like Travis Walton's story, but I recently did see something that made me question like his incentive for even, I guess just, and I sent it to you. I don't know if you saw it by chance, but he was essentially like waiting to get money. Like he had brought somebody over to his house. I believe it was his house. And in that video, after the interview was over, he was kind of just like waiting there. And I guess the guy that filmed that podcast or that interview, he filmed everything. And so Travis Walton was just waiting there to collect payment. And then he asked him like, "Oh, how much do we owe?" He's like, "Oh, $1,500." And then it was just like very like, I don't know. It puts him in like a certain light. What was your thoughts on that?
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
got to make a living.
You know, he's got to make a living, and that's the one thing he always struggled to do after the experience. And I get it. You know, you got to make a living. Everybody wants that from him, his experience. Yeah. Okay. I'm a business now. I am the business. You want me to tell you the story, you got to pay me the money. Because that's the thing, is he doesn't even like that this has happened to him, you know?
So might as well might as well just, make something good out of it, right? I could see that perspective.
Right. I mean, that's what we're trying to do with this podcast. We want views, we want brand deals, we want money, but we also want the platform to talk and express our feelings,
right?
Our feelings about the UFOs.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've met Travis Walton briefly.
Did you?
At a MUFON meeting. And the more I look into his story and also the vibe I was getting from him when I talked to him, I was just like, this guy isn't happy that this happened to him. And I believe it happened to him. And so that's why it's so creepy to me, because if you truly just understand that this guy is not lying, even if he thinks he went through some crazy experience, at least to him it's real. The story is so fucking creepy or wild. If you put yourself in the shoes of any person involved that witnessed this happen, especially if you put yourself in his shoes, the entire thing would how is he not just completely fucked up? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. That's some scarring ass shit. Could you summarize it though? Could you summarize the story in like a paragraph so that for people that haven't heard the Travis Walton story, could you sum it up?
I'll do my best. Okay. This guy and 6 other people were cutting down trees because they were literally lumberjacks at this forest in northern Arizona. And as they were driving out of the forest at night after a full day of cutting down trees, they see a light in the trees that it's just off the beaten path. They go to drive up and check it out because they think maybe it's a forest fire and they got to report it or something like that. And none of the theories that they thought of the light were making sense. So when they get up to it, they realize, oh shit, there's a flying saucer just hovering there, glowing really brightly. And Travis Walton, essentially being a risk-taking guy trying to show off for his buddies and have the bravado, he figured, I'm going to run up to this thing and it's going to zip off into space. And I'm going to look so cool because I ran up to it. Well, long story short, he runs up to it. It doesn't zip off into space. And there was maybe some electric field coming off of it. And whatever it was, it zapped Travis so hard that he basically was flung 20 feet away. His friends think this thing just killed him. So, because they saw it happen, and apparently, at first it kind of levitated him up and then zapped him off like an electric shock or something.
Yeah.
And so his friends drive away in fear because they're all packed into this truck, and they come to their senses and they go, we can't leave Travis. We gotta fucking go back and find him. We can't just leave his body there, because they assume he's dead. They assume this thing killed him. Long story short, they go back over there, turn around the car after a few miles away, and not only is the flying saucer gone, but Travis Walton is gone too, and they can't find him anywhere. And so, not knowing what to do, they go into town, they go to the police station, they report what just happened, and they tell the police officer, we were just in the forest, this flying saucer was right there, it zapped Travis, and it took him by his body, and it's probably in space right now. The police thought these guys were crazy, as would anybody. Okay? So the police is entertaining the story, and he's like, okay, tell me more. Okay, can you show me where this happened? The only reason he's going along with it is because he thinks now he's investigating a homicide, and he thinks these guys killed Travis somewhere in the forest and left and like tried to hide his body somewhere. So basically, there's search parties out in this forest looking for Travis everywhere for 5 days. Not a trace of Travis anywhere. And the whole time, everybody's accusing these guys of murder. They are the most hated guys in this town. The police has them locked up thinking that they are clearly lying. So they have them all separated. Tell me what happened from the beginning. They're interrogating them, trying to get them to have any inconsistencies. Every guy had the exact same story. So they eventually hire the #1 polygrapher in the nation, who ironically happened to be in Phoenix, which is a couple hours away. And so he drives up and puts all these guys under a lie detector test, and they all pass with flying colors. Then on the 5th day of all this madness happening, and by now it's national news, on the 5th day, Travis Walton wakes up in the middle of the road, has his clothes on, goes over to a payphone in the middle of the night, confused about what just happened. He's looking up at the sky, and he's as he's laying there in the street, and he sees this flying saucer hovering above him, and he sees it fly off, and he fucking runs up to the nearest payphone, which is a few blocks away, almost as if this thing like dropped him off in this town near a payphone, and he calls his brother. He's like, dude, you need to come pick me up. It's Travis or whatever. And his brother's like, if this is a prank call, just like stop calling. Like, we get enough of these, right? So he's like, no, it's really me. It's Travis. Come pick me up. So long story short, as I've said a long story ago, he basically, his brother comes and picks him up. It's the middle of the night. They go get him examined by a hospital in Phoenix, which is a couple hours away, because they didn't want to use the local doctors. And there's nothing wrong with him other than the fact that he looks like he hasn't eaten for 5 days, and he's got some beard growth. And so anyways, he undergoes all this therapy and hypnotic regressions to recall the memories that he couldn't remember at first of what happened while he was gone, because, as you gotta believe, this story was national news as a potential homicide of this crazy alien abduction that they're claiming. And now the guy returns, and he has the exact same story as these other guys. Last thing I remember, man, we were in the forest and we saw this flying saucer, and next thing I know, I'm laying in the street. And so after talking to his brother a couple days later and recollecting the story, he starts to get memories of seeing these beings, and he has all these interviews where his story corroborates what these guys have been saying, and also has this crazy wild experience of what happened to him while he was on this craft, of meeting these grays that were working on him, and then being so scared because he thought he was in a hospital, and then he realized that these were alien looking beings that were hovering right above him, and he kind of just pushed them off of him because they were like really light and weak and easy to push away. And he like jumps off this table, and he's like looking for anything to grab as a weapon, and he picks up some fucking object. It looks like a glass tube or something, probably a tool that they were using, and he was like trying to fend them off. They run out of the room. It's like this, you know, futuristic door that slides up and then slides shut. And basically he a few minutes later, these Nordic looking beings come into the room. And when I say Nordic, again, human in appearance, blonde hair, blue eyes, and they have helmets on and spacesuits. And he thinks, okay, this must be the military. They're here to save me. So he goes with these humans and he's trying to ask them questions. They're not responding to him. They have a blank expression on their face. It's not reacting to him at all, other than just guiding him through the hallways of this fucking ship. And they eventually take him into a room where there's all these other Nordic looking beings, men and women. And they lay him on a table and put this gas mask over his face, and he knocks out. Next thing you know, he wakes up in the middle of the road. And so he actually, after all these years, believes that when he ran up to this ship, something like the force field around it, or like the electricity coming off of it, is what zapped him. And he thinks that these beings actually took him and revived him and then dropped him off to help him out. So
what killed him?
I mean, they think it killed it.
Oh, so they think that like the electromagnetic field, or like the emission of the UFO that he approached, killed him, and then they kind of recognized that, you know, he was a dead body, and so that's why they took him. And
yeah,
interesting. So that was the motive.
Yeah.
That was the, you know, the theorized motive.
And we don't know if he was actually dead, but
Right.
if this thing actually did zap him, he was definitely like not in great shape.
So if that's the
So,
case, then
Yeah,
extraterrestrials value life.
I guess.
They're,
Yeah.
they're empathetic.
Or they just don't want to like impact the timeline, or if they're like from the future, or they don't want to like leave unnecessary collateral damage.
Right.
Maybe that's like a just an keeping order type of thing, you know?
Interesting.
Because they didn't plan on this fucking human being running up to it.
Right.
You know?
Right. He just happened to be there. What were they doing though? That's a good question, right? Maybe they just parked there, right?
That is the question.
Were they just parked there beforehand for like a certain amount of time? Did they say that it was there for a while?
So apparently in this forest, it's known for UFO sightings. And apparently Travis had seen flying saucers near him, like in the sky, where he could see it like multiple times before this happened, which is a contributing factor to why maybe he wasn't as afraid or in awe of it when they saw it. And so I guess as far as like what it was doing there, they think that maybe the area has a lot of quartz, so it could be very energetically charged. I've heard that as a theory. And then I've also heard, you know, that just like there's something in the area that is drawing them, because apparently these are commonly seen there.
Gotcha.
And there was also a story of a hunter who was actually hunting nearby when Travis was abducted. And apparently he was like 150 yards away, and he actually saw this whole thing go down. So that would be a unrelated witness outside of them. I didn't include that part in the video because I don't know how credible that story is, but
do you feel like,
apparently this guy was legit.
do you feel like this is one of the most credible abduction stories?
I think so. Just in the sense of how the story changed, you know, because as far as like the narrative from mainstream news as the story was unfolding in real time, because it wasn't a UFO abduction hoax from the beginning, right? It was these guys are being tried for murder, right? If it was a hoax, they would have tried to make it look convincing out in the forest. There was nothing out in the forest, you know, and that's kind of the point. But Travis was gone. And so the people who have tried to debunk it, they they point to Travis being like a druggy alcoholic or something, and they think that he went into a cabin somewhere in the woods and took a bunch of LSD. But the evidence that directly refutes that is the fact that there's no cabin that we know of that he could have gone to. And second, he got examined the night he returned at a hospital in Phoenix, and they found nothing wrong with him. They did find a needle puncture in his arm, and that's presumably from whatever
Injection.
may have happened on the craft. But there were no traces of drugs in his system at all, you know.
And they did like a toxicology report or whatever. Like they
I'm pretty sure they did.
Blood
Yeah.
and shit. So let me ask you this. I love the Travis Walton story. Like I've heard it once before, but you just like, and I saw your video and I love the details of it. Like it's such a compelling story. But let me ask you this. Okay. Why hasn't such a detailed abduction story like this happened in the past 10 years? Why haven't we had a crazy abduction story like this in the past 10 to 20 years? You don't hear about it. The closest one that I would think of is the Chris Bledsoe situation. And Chris Bledsoe, if you guys don't know about him, he's this guy who really does think that, you know, UFOs are tied to God, that UFOs are actually spiritual beings or that have made a connection with him and his family. And he actually has like an Instagram page there where he records every night on his property lights in the sky. And these are like crystal clear videos of like lights in the sky. And he records them like almost every other week or something like that. And he posts those videos. He's having consistent recurring UFO visitations, but it's not an abduction experience, right? We haven't heard of a crazy abduction experience like this in a while. Why is that? Is it because technology's gotten so good to the point where we have cameras and cell phones accessible to us, and you know,
like I would ask you this: what were they happening really common around the time that Travis Walton was abducted, or even before that?
Yeah,
like is it something that stopped happening?
I feel like it is something that stopped happening. Don't you think?
I mean, I would have to do a lot of research to find out high profile abduction cases and like put it on a timeline or something. But I guess what I would say in response to, you know, the question that you asked was the fact that if it happened, would we know? Like, with social media today, would anybody take it seriously? Or does it happen in such a high profile way on accident? Like Travis Walton's story went viral in the 70s before the internet, before he even returned as an abductee. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there was such a perfect series of events, almost coincidentally, that were like, even if it was a hoax, they couldn't plan on that going viral in the way it did and gaining that type of attention and unfolding the way it did. And so I don't know. It just, I feel like if it did happen, we wouldn't know about it. And there are probably a lot of people out there claiming that they have been abducted. You know what I'm saying? Whether they have or not.
Right. But I'm talking like a full scale abduction, like that goes viral. You know, you haven't really seen that in a while. That was something that broke the news, right? The Travis Walton situation.
And there's also the Missing 411 series. Have you heard about this?
No.
Missing 411 is about all these people who go missing in very mysterious ways. And it's almost like the concept of the Bermuda Triangle, where you like things disappear inside of that triangle.
Alaska.
Well, Missing 411 is all spread out through the United States, and it's in like heavily forested areas. And so it's like a kid is with their dad at a campsite, and the dad turns this way for 10 seconds and turns back and the kid is gone and there's no trace of this thing anywhere, you know, there's nothing, right? There's also, and then like in other instances, something like that will happen and then their shoes reappear 10 miles away 3 hours later or some shit.
Oh,
You know what
that's
I'm saying?
trippy.
Like,
Where people
and
are just
so
disappearing?
missing. Yeah. And I guess like it's in like along certain like systems in heavily forested areas in North America. But a lot of that people theorize as being any number of explanations, but one of the explanations is theorized to be like alien abduction, you know.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Sometimes they find these people, but sometimes like even the timeline of when they find them and where they're at
Yeah.
and what it would take to even get there is like very fishy or like trippy,
Right.
you know.
That's reasonable. I mean, to think that like they're alien abductions. I mean, how would someone just disappear like that out of thin air?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So people think like portals, people think skinwalkers or some shit, or you know, aliens. I don't know.
Yeah, Bermuda is another one that's pretty trippy. You know, I could actually go swimming and I'm like touching the tip of the Bermuda Triangle right now. Yeah.
I believe
Yeah,
it.
it's very close. And like cuz it starts like in Bermuda, it's a literal triangle. And it's actually really really trippy how there's certain parts in the world that like, you know, weird things just happen, right? Yeah. Like in like at full scale, you know, because like, you know, you hear about weird stories here and there in different places, but there's, you know, areas in the world where it's consistently happening, like the Alaska Triangle. Have you heard about that one?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people that have gotten lost in Alaska, in certain parts of the Alaskan wilderness. And they haven't found their bodies or anything like that. You know, of course they could go hiking and disappear forever, but you know, they've sent search parties and not even a trace of these people have ever been found or located again. There's actually really, really weird. Because usually, you know, you find like a piece of clothing or something, but these people have not been found and were never found either. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, did they get lost or did something else more weird happen?
So I mean, I guess in that case, I don't know that I would say that abductions don't happen anymore. I would say they're just like
low key,
maybe not presented in a same type of way, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Because like, I guess it's not common that people who get abducted are coming back and going, "Oh my God, I saw aliens last night. Here's what happened." But then again, there are people claiming that stuff happens to them all the time, everywhere you go, you know?
Literally.
There's a dude who, I think he's like Joe Rogan's partner on Alpha Brain. What's his face? Aubrey Marcus.
Oh yeah. Yeah, what about him?
He was on Jake Paul's podcast like a month ago with that Jesse Michaels guy. And he was like, I've been abducted. I've been on alien ships. Yeah, they're here. They're real. And he was like so chill and nonchalant about it.
Aubrey
you know?
Marcus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's actually a
sorry.
Oh good. He's actually a very he's like a high profile guy who is like very woo woo in a lot of ways, you know, and he's like very into psychedelics, which is fine. But he's also like, I don't know, to just casually just claim that, oh yeah, I've been abducted. Yeah, multiple times. Yeah, like I've been on these fucking alien spaceships. Now it's like, okay.
You got receipts for that, bro?
Fuck you doing, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. I never even thought about or heard about that. I wonder what Joe Rogan thinks about that. Yeah.
I would be very curious. I mean, has this dude ever been on Joe Rogan's podcast?
Yeah, he has. Yep. I think he has, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know it seems like Joe Rogan, when he talks to people, he seems very skeptical of a lot of big claims.
He does. Yeah. Did you watch? You haven't seen the interview with the religious professor? Um,
No, was it
it
interesting?
was. Yeah. I recommend you listen to it. She actually brings
Okay.
up that she was part of a crash recovery. So
Are you
yeah,
serious?
yeah, she was part of a crash recovery, and she talks about it in the podcast that she went out with Gary Nolan, that guy that I was telling you about, the scientist from
Yeah.
Stanford. Yeah, she went out with a search party for some reason. I don't know how she got access to it, but she got exclusive access to go to this crash site. They actually blindfolded her to the crash site. It's the one of the Roswell crash sites, and apparently they took her there to that site. It was her, Gary Nolan, and this random guy named Travis or Taylor or something like that.
Is this bitch really old?
She's no.
Because Roswell was 1947.
Right. No. This woman is like in her 40s or 50s. But they took her to the crash site because apparently there's still pieces of the UFO that reside there deep underneath like the rocks and shit like that. They actually, this is what she said. They put a whole bunch of scrap metal and shit on top and burned that shit apparently, and like littered it so that it would cover up the actual UFO crash material, because they knew that they couldn't get all of it when they were excavating it. And so apparently she went to the crash site, and she actually they dug through all the shit, and she found a piece of UFO that apparently same properties as the material that was gathered during Roswell, which apparently, like, it's like a piece of metal that you crumple it,
Yeah.
and then when you let go of it, it like goes back to its original shape without any creases or any wrinkles or anything like that. It's like she described it as like a piece of like frog skin, like a metallic frog skin, and yeah, apparently she was taken to the site, and she took a look at it, and there's teams out there, there's people within government and within universities that have access to this material, which is pretty interesting. Yeah.
I will have to check that out. That's how did Joe react to it?
Joe was just asking questions, he was just, he remains kind of neutral. But he does ask questions about it. He does dig a little bit deeper, and there were some things that she couldn't answer. Yeah.
Huh.
But there are some things that she did say. She also mentioned that they're donations. One thing that stuck with me, there's two pieces of information that I never heard before on that podcast. One of them was that these crashes, right? They call them crashes, but she described them as being donations. That she was told by someone that they are actually donations. And another piece of information was that there's not only crash retrievals here on the surface of planet Earth, but there's some in space as well that have been recovered.
Like retrieved from like the moon and stuff?
No, she didn't specify, but I'm assuming it's like in our kind of like vicinity, like outside of our atmosphere, very close to us in our orbit.
So like just things floating in orbit.
Yep.
And they're just like empty ships is what she said.
Empty ships that are donations.
So how do they get things out of orbit? That's the question for me.
That's the question, and who knows? I mean, who knows what kind of technology we have, like low key, to extract that. I mean, if we could land rockets, put a couple parachutes on that hole and just call it a day.
But something going in orbit is not just floating; it's going thousands and thousands of miles an hour, and that's why it's so dangerous to be in space, because a little pebble might shoot through you at 12,000 miles an hour before you even really realize it. you know. And so, like, if something is floating in orbit, it's not as simple as just plucking it out of the sky, you know?
Yeah. Well,
especially if you have no idea what it is.
Yeah. I mean, she didn't specify if it was like in orbit or if it was like somewhere a little bit further out, probably between the moon and Earth, you know, somewhere between.
That would be cool.
Yeah. And that's a first timer. That's like the first time I actually hear that we've recovered, you know, shit that's like out in space. That's a first time, which is pretty interesting. She called them donations, which is something that's also pretty freaking interesting.
So you're telling me that this chick got privileged to do all of this because she's someone who has studied religions.
And she's had like a deep interest in ufology since like 2012, and then like she started.
Is that why she came on the podcast, is so she could talk about that? She
did mention that, yeah. I believe because Joe, he's very interested in like the UFO topic, and so when you know, when they started talking, it started unfolding, and the majority of what they were talking about is like, you know, UFOs and interdimensional life, which she also mentioned. Yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
What did she say about that?
So she did mention the word interdimensional, but she wasn't like conclusive with it, you know. The same story that we've heard where it's like, you know, oh, we don't know what it is. Yeah. Yeah, because there's really no evidence. I mean, like, how could you tell if something is from another planet or from another dimension, right? What is the determining factor there? Like, if you were presented with a piece of material, how could you tell if that material was from another dimension or from another planet?
You're right. You would have to figure out where the thing came from. Exactly. To be able to do that. And I mean, the only way to know that is if you talk to one of the beings or maybe pick up a star map or something. But yeah, you're exactly right. That is a good question. Yeah. I think the only I asked someone to explain the concept of an interdimensional craft to me. And I think the way that it was kind of described to me was these things will defy the laws of physics in a way to where the only explanation is that it is from another dimension, because he was like, it'll fly straight into a mountain and there'll be no crash. It'll just go into it and like, that's it. Or they'll like phase shift in and out, like it'll just poof, you know, go away. And so I think just taking that as from an observation standpoint is why they just conclude it's from another dimension. I'd be very curious to know if there's actual other evidence other than that. Yeah, that would suggestion. You know?
Yeah, I feel like it would be just lazy if they just come to that conclusion, like, oh, it's interdimensional, or oh, it's extraterrestrial. I'd be more inclined to believe that it's from another planet, that it's extraterrestrial rather than interdimensional, because that makes more sense to me. The whole concept of interdimensionality, that shit doesn't click for me, you know? And I don't know if it does for you, but I think that it's more likely that we're being visited. And I actually had a debate with my wife about this, and I actually called you about it too, that there's a higher chance for there to be other extraterrestrials out there that are visiting our planet than there are interdimensional creatures or interdimensional craft, you know? You know, she thinks that the chances of there being other life out there that have, you know, technologically evolved, you know, thousands of years ahead of us is less likely than there being spiritual creatures that penetrate our reality and, you know, make contact with us every now and then whenever they feel like it and donate craft to us.
I think, no, I totally see where you're coming from. I think the fact that it could be interdimensional, it's such a, you're right. It's almost a lazy explanation, and it almost feels like a catch-all term, because interdimensional could mean a lot of things as far as like, I think that's why some people think UFOs are demons, because if they're from another dimension, they assume that dimension is hell. You know, and you could say that ghosts are in another dimension if you believe in ghosts.
Yeah.
So does, like, it is kind of like lazy, because other dimension just means a place that's an alternate reality that, using the traditional laws of physics, we can't access. But at the same time, I don't know if you've seen like the geographical definition of a interdimensional thing. Have you seen any of this?
Not really.
So Grush alluded to it. He called it a trope that could be crossed, but basically the dimensions that they're talking about are one-dimensional, two-dimensional, three-dimensional things, like height, width, depth is three-dimensional. Well, higher dimensions can project shadows that look like a dimension lower, just like your shadow is not three-dimensional, it's two-dimensional. So that is how a higher dimensional being projects its image onto a lower dimension. And you know, a shadow walking along a plane, you know, is two dimensions. Now, for something to go from two dimensions to one is kind of like, I'm not even smart enough to make these analogies, but it's like, yeah, it's like it's an outline. I don't know, you know? So it's like, it's hard to conceptualize what the being would look like, and is it just projecting an image from a four-dimensional dimension onto a three-dimensional thing,
Right.
you know? And if you've actually seen like what a four-dimensional object even looks like, it actually is called what is it, a hypercube or something like
Rubik's
that?
Cube.
Not a Rubik's
Not
cube.
a Rubik's
It's
Cube. I'm just kidding.
what's the
I
thing
know
that
what you're talking about.
in the Marvel movies they're trying to, like, the cat eats it. It's like a little square.
Yeah.
It's got the same name.
What is it called?
Hypercube?
Hypercube.
What is that thing that they're trying to get?
A tesseract.
Tesseract.
The tesseract.
Yep. That is what a four-dimensional object looks like, or the fourth dimension looks like. It looks like a tesseract. As compared to like an actual cube, which I guess would be the three-dimensional.
You were right though. It's hypercube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hypercube.
Hypercube. Yeah. I mean, okay, look. So the thing with disclosure, right? Like if all of this, if disclosure comes, right, we would begin to ask so many questions. Where are they coming from, right? If they're aliens, if they start with extraterrestrials, right? If we get disclosure and it turns out to be extraterrestrials, right? Then that would kind of segue and advance science, our understanding of science, to the point where we start asking questions about, you know, other dimensions, right? So I don't know. I'm more inclined to believe that they're aliens from other planets.
Right. I agree.
Rather than other. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was kind of the point that you had made before I went on that huge tangent about dimensions.
Yeah.
And I think that's fascinating because I don't know if I've asked you this before, but let's say they are from another dimension. Is that a scarier thought than that they're from another galaxy? Like, I think it's actually scarier if they're from another dimension, because to me that means that if they're not from another galaxy, or if they're not from another planet, then maybe it's not possible to travel that far in space. And that is a scarier thought, because I want to believe that they are actually able to travel such a massive distance very, like, instantaneously, because that to me is cooler and something I can comprehend more than being from a different dimension.
Yeah, dude, like keep me in this space. Like I'm cool with this space. Let me just see other planets. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
whole interdimensional thing. If I can't even comprehend that, like just keep me away from that. However, it is
Yeah.
scary, and I totally feel you. Like every time I go to the bathroom, drop a deuce. I'm like, is there something like watching me right now? Like, you know what I mean? Like if the interdimensional theory is actually a real thing, I don't want there to be other things living like alongside me, potentially peering and like looking at me while I'm doing private things, you know? So that's just me though. But like, I feel like it's more entertaining to even just think that, you know, interplanetary travel is like literally a potential in our lifetime, you know?
Yeah.
That's something that I get excited about. And that's why I'm so like not involved, but like interested in this topic, is that there are technologies right now on this planet right now that they are concealing from the public that have the capability of getting us to other planets, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's just like a crime, dude. That's a crime.
Have you ever seen that movie Don't Look Up?
Yeah, that was trippy.
That was a trippy movie.
I will admit though, I did not finish it because I don't know why I didn't finish it, but it was cool
because it was probably stupid.
I mean,
it was very stupid.
It was very it was very basic. Some of the aspects of it, like the cinematography was on point. The storyline, it was a little out there. Like I was like a little lost.
Yeah.
I wish there was like more character development. Like I did not care if the characters died at all.
It was basically, what I got out of it was it was intentionally bad. I think it was like a satire. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And but it in a lot of ways it worked, and also in a lot of ways it kind of sucked.
Yeah.
Because I felt like the movie really dragged on, but it was intelligently it was intelligently trying to draw parallels between the stupidity of how politics works in today's society, like the whole trend of don't look up, that could be easily translated to far left individuals.
Right.
Maybe they would say the same thing about far right individuals, right?
Right.
But it's like they have an ideology, and anything outside of that triggers them emotionally. It hurts their feelings. So you cannot do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I thought it was making a lot of parallels to the natural humor that exists in the stupidity of how politics works.
Yeah, and if it seems like Hollywood's been doing that so much, especially Disney, which is like, stay out of it, bro. Stay out of it. You know? It sucks.
Yeah.
And now it's affecting the science sci-fi.
I think the whole reason I brought that movie up was because we were talking about going to another planet. Well, at the end of the movie, the female, the president in the movie is a female, I'm pretty sure, and she like gets on this craft that's leaving Earth, that they're gonna go into hypersleep and be woken up when the craft lands on another Earth-like planet. And basically the movie ends, and this is like, it might even be post-credits, but the movie ends with them escaping, going into hypersleep, and they land on this other planet like 100 years later or some shit. And as soon as they step out, it's like the most beautiful planet. There's like life, there's a beach, there's trees everywhere. And then they're like, as soon as they go, oh my God, we made it, we're here, they all get eaten.
No way, I missed that.
Yeah.
I missed that. Damn, I can't believe I missed that.
Yeah.
That was literally the ending?
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. I can't believe that. Spoiler warning.
Right.
That's insane.
And so it's just like I would not want to be the first one to have to habitate a
Yeah,
planet.
no, me either. Me either. Have you seen that movie Titan? The one where that guy he had to be like genetically engineered to survive Titan, which is like I think it's like Saturn's moon or something.
I haven't seen that one. No.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. He had to like be genetically altered where he developed gills and shit to survive like this literal like habitability project where you know he like they would send his body out to space. He's an astronaut. He just send them out to that planet to see if he could survive. And yeah, apparently it was really cool. It was really cool. He adjusted. He had to leave his family behind. His wife and his kid had to see him evolve into like this really tall, like muscular creature with like gills and shit, so that he can adapt to that other planet. It was really sad, yeah, but it was good. It was a good movie. But yeah, something that I will admit though, and I've been looking into this lately, and I know you're gonna disagree with me here, but I really do think that the Mexican mummies are real, bro.
Okay. Tell me why you think they're real.
Dude, so they've done scans of these mummies.
Oh my god.
I'm telling you, bro.
You know these were debunked like a week ago, right?
I don't how are they debunked? How? There's been universities that have actually studied these mummies. Like and actually like there's like actual paperwork on it, like scientific paperwork. What was debunked about it? And who debunked it? That's my question.
So I'll say it's been debunked twice. All right. So let me start at the beginning. This dude who tried to release these mummies to the Mexican Congress, first off, has already been a known perpetrator of a hoax that he tried to perpetrate around aliens like a decade ago.
Okay, but what if he got it
like
right
not
this
that
time?
long ago?
What if he got it right this time?
Secondly, that's not the first time he tried to present them. He actually brought these to light in like 2019, and there was a video that kind of showed what happened in 2019 when he tried to get these things examined. They were made of chicken bones, and they literally took in the video they took actual bones, like the skull of a chicken, and if you take a skull of a chicken and you turn it upside down and you turn the base of like this hole right here at the bottom of your skull and you turn that into like eyeballs and a face, it looks just like the face of that mummy. And so all the bones within the scan, like this video from 2019 showing the exact same mummies that he showed to Mexican Congress, already debunking it, showing they're all chicken bones. None of them anatomically even are in the right place. Like on the fingers of these things, like you got the metacarpals and the phalanges and all these bones that make up your fingers. Like you got the one that should be in the middle, like placed down here, and they're all mixed up throughout the fingers. So it's like not even well done. You know what I'm saying? And so that was the first time it was debunked. Then it comes to Congress in Mexico 3-4 years later. And oh my God, a week ago, they finally had independent people looking at these. They let these things go up to scrutiny because everybody wanted to know, because all these doctors were so biased and they were all saying the same shit. But now they had independent people and they go, okay, we did actual chemical analysis on the DNA and all this stuff. And they're like, yeah, it's chicken bones. I called this stuff 3 months ago when it was happening.
Wait, so really, they really did turn out with chicken DNA in those bones?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, they were all chicken bones.
And it was a conclusive? Who came out with that conclusion?
I would have to look back at it, but I don't know if I saved it. Maybe I did save it somewhere. Yeah. I'm looking on my Twitter, but I think it was like, I forget who the source was, but I remember when I saw it, I immediately was like, oh, okay, I knew it. You know,
I keep seeing it pop up though, and I'm like, how is this still relevant? And I was watching this video that kind of shows like the scans and shit, and I don't know, man. I feel like it's very detailed for it to be like, what's the motive behind all that shit? You know, like what's the motive of people come?
okay, now you know what? This goes back to a conversation. I saved the tweet.
Okay,
And the tweet was from Stephen Greenstreet.
oh, I mean, not the best source, but you know, I mean, he's like he defaults to like debunk now. So,
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, I like to look at it from both perspectives. But I mean, yeah, what did he have to say?
He just basically said they were made of animal and human bones. He didn't go into a lot of detail, but he kind of just was like new source confirmed. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. Like, again, I don't even. How would we even find out the results of such a test? And we have no say in who conducts the tests, you know? So all the evidence, all the claims, it's like, who do you even believe these days?
Yeah.
I think we're all just in a big simulation anyways. This is all just internet nonsense. we're just contributing to the white noise of the internet right now. That's all we're doing.
You think so? I don't know, man.
I think
yeah, in a way, I guess. Yeah, we are. I just like to look at it from both perspectives. Like at first I was skeptical. I'm like, yeah, what the fuck is that shit? And then I saw like the scans and shit, like of the bones. And then I was like, okay, you know, the scans are actually pretty detailed. These are CAT scans. Like they ran them through like this, like, you know, like, I don't know, an imaging test. And they showed the actual anatomy of these creatures. And, you know, I'll show you this real quick. This is on my handy dandy Reddit. So like, says here, Nazca mummies, CT scans performed to the tridactyl reptile humanoid mummy named Victoria back in 2018 and 2020 respectively. Radiological examinations performed via 2 labs using different tomographic machines corroborate the specimen's authenticity. No room for manipulation. Nazca mummies, CT scans performed to the tridactyl humanoid. Okay, it's the same thing. So, as you can see here, bro, they do like I don't know, man. It just seems a little bit too like involved for them to actually create this shit out of chicken bones. I could be wrong, but like, I don't know. Look at that. It's pretty crazy, man. I mean, this could have been a creature, man. It could have been E.T. Like way back when.
You know what? It could have been. But it also could be a massive hoax.
Yeah.
The world will never know. I'm starting to lose faith that we'll get disclosure ever.
Don't.
But you know what? I always have hope. As long as we still have dynamite afterwards. Because I love these things. I can't resist them.
Yeah, you're going to have a very fun time in the bathroom after that one. That's spicy food, man. Me and spicy food, and we're not friends.
They hurt my teeth. They're hard and crunchy, and my teeth are always sore after I eat them too. It's like I hate it, but I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, bro. I'm just leaning more towards like believing some things that have kind of just media resilience, things that keep popping up over time. But you know, I could be wrong. It's just my opinion. Yeah.
I think what fascinates me about aliens in Mexico is the stones that I made in my video, one of my videos about the alien stones that have these flying saucers and reptilian gray looking alien beings carved into them that have been dated back 9,000 years before present.
Oh yeah, didn't you have a podcast with some guy?
Yeah, he was the host of America Unearthed, show on the. I think it was on the Travel Channel, and then it got canceled, and the 3 seasons where the rights were bought by History Channel, so the History Channel has posted a lot of the episodes on their YouTube, and they all have like tons of views, all of his episodes. And it was a good show. And he agreed to do an interview with me a few years back during 2020. And I literally binge watched like 40 episodes in like a day.
No way.
And a day and a half. Yeah, all on like 2.5 speed. And I just like took it all in, and I knew everything about this guy's show by the time I interviewed him. And that interview, I feel like I should post it on my main channel, but I've been given the YouTube advice to not. You know what? Maybe we should post it on this channel.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I've been given the YouTube advice that it's actually bad for me to post podcast style content on my main YouTube channel, because what's growing it is a specific style of content, which is a different type of audience than the audience that is into podcasts and long form.
Gotcha.
So I haven't posted it there, but it's posted on my Patreon, but I basically took the best part of that thing, and I was like, it was the episode that they had about these alien stones that they dug up out of the ground in Mexico. And a lot of them were debunked by him even. But the ones that fascinate him are these specific stones that they have really in carvings of what look to be the classic gray aliens in very good detail. It's impressive. But what's fascinating about these stones is there's also these symbols carved into the back. My fingers are red because of those dynamites.
Looking like
there's
ET,
also
bro.
these symbols carved into like the stone, almost like a watermark in the background. And every symbol is different, but it looks like a letter in an alphabet of some sort. But Scott Walter, this guy, he basically has multiple of these stones, and he wrote down every symbol in a notebook to try to decipher if this was an alphabet or not. And what he found was almost over 1,000 symbols. Not one of them repeated once, not once. And and they're like in the background, like a watermark, you know? And so some people have theorized that maybe it's like they're showing star maps, like what these symbols, like the physical shape of the symbol. But that's only a theory I got out of a TikTok comment on my video about that. But Scott basically was like, I was like, okay, well, if it's not an alphabet, because no symbol ever repeats once,
Right.
What is it? And he was like, I think this is quote unquote, I think it's symbolic representation of telepathic communication. He said it just like that. And I was like, okay, tell me why you think that. And he was basically just like, because I've thought about it, and that's the only conclusion I can come to, because there's no other explanation. And so that's kind of what he left it as why he drew that conclusion. I think the conclusion in itself is very interesting. I personally have no idea how you automatically jump to that, but you know, at the end of the day, it is a very fascinating phenomenon. And they like I said, they basically scraped material out of like the grooves because these shapes were carved onto it.
So refresh my memory real quick. These stones, they were like found, they were excavated
out of the ground.
Out of the ground. And then what happened with the, like, what's the significance of these stones? They just like, they have like unique etchings on them, like.
Yeah, I should pull some up right here.
Yeah.
Oh, now we got alien mummies. Fuck.
Speak of the devil, huh?
So this is one of the stones.
Oh wow.
Oh, here we go.
What the hell?
Great examples. Yeah, so these stones, there are thousands of them in Mexico. They're found throughout Mexico, buried in the ground. And so let me see if I can bring back up
Wait,
Scott.
did you say thousands of them?
Thousands of them. They're everywhere. Not everywhere. I think they're in regions. But let me try to find okay. Could you hear that
No.
when I played it?
Mm.
Let's see. Let's see if I can share my audio. It's actually not even important. Let me see if I can find the actual stone that he had. So this is the one that they got. So this one he debunked because it literally says UFO in the carving. So that was a fake one. But this one is the real one. And it's one of like several. And basically they scraped stuff, mud or whatever, out of this groove right here. And that came back to be carbon dated 9,000 years old. And the one that, let's see if we can get to the other one that's really fascinating. So this is the one of them that had all the symbols carved into it.
Whoa. And what do the symbols represent? Are they like a language or something? Or like
that's what he said. He thought they represent telepathic communication.
What do you mean telepathic communication? Like somebody kind of like some alien or something kind of telepathically communicated with the person that was carving this, and they were making.
I didn't ask him to elaborate because I have no idea.
Huh.
I actually texted this guy after this because it dawned on me. Here's another one of the videos. So this stone. So that's one of them. And there's all this. I don't know if you could notice that from that resolution.
Yeah, I could see.
But there's some of those symbols right here. And then he turns it around. And all those symbols are still there in the back. And then you got these symbols right here in the foreground. But it literally looks like some reptilian thing sacrificing a baby, you know?
Yo, what?
Yeah. And but this stone, I don't know if you can see it. I mean, I used to be in dental school and I texted him about this and he never got back to me. He probably thought it was crazy. But the shape of this stone, I wish I had the, you know what? I probably have it somewhere. Let's see. I don't have many patrons because I don't promote it. But let me look at my post. So this video, I want to see if we can find him holding up that stone for me. Okay. So this stone, fuck, come on. The shape of it, it looks like a central incisor, your front tooth. But it looks like a super massive central incisor.
It does, yeah.
You see what I'm talking about?
Wait, so you think that that's a tooth?
I think that could be a fucking tooth.
No way.
A ginormous fucking tooth.
Dude, this guy has like a Nephilim tooth in his freaking cupboard.
It's a fucking, it looks like a central incisor.
That's crazy. Was that stone just found like that? Because it looks very smooth on the edges and like the corners. I don't know. I mean, usually with a tooth, you would see like the root though. Unless it was kind of polished.
You're right.
Yeah, it was kind of polished at the top.
Just the curvature of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like on the back. and the way it's carved on the side, you can't even tell right here, but this side is also carved into an alien that's in like 3D.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You
I
told him?
texted him
Yeah,
about
you
that.
told him, yo, you
He
think
never
that's like an
got,
incisor,
didn't
bro?
text me back.
And I mean,
Yeah.
but that's not a bad assumption though. So I don't know why he would, think that would be a bad guess. You know,
Yeah.
with shit like this, everything's on the table, and it's really cool to like, kind of theorize. And that's why we started this channel, Black Hole Theories.